Do you tend to overthink things? Or are you more likely to just charge forward and believe that everything will be fine? Obviously, people cannot be put into perfect categories. But I have found that in general, there are two types of people when it comes to introspection and action. Let me put it this way. Do you know those surveys that say, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your experience, 1 being terrible, 10 being terrific? Think of action and introspection like that. On a scale of action to introspection, how likely are you to just jump in and do something versus thinking it through or even overthinking it? You probably fall somewhere on that scale closer to one than the other, and that's okay. Let's define introspection and action, and maybe that will help clarify what I mean a little better. By introspection, I mean thinking about something. For example, my dad, who I love, is highly introspective. When he's going to make a purchase, he will research every brand, every retailer, every little thing that could go wrong. And then he'll double check to verify with independent sources that the original sources of his information are true. After all that, he may or may not make a purchase. That's introspection. Thinking things out, whether it's a big purchase, a critical life decision, or what's for dinner tonight. Thinking things through, whether it's a big purchase, critical life decision, or what's for dinner tonight. Introspective people tend to think more about decisions than action people. Now remember, that's a sliding scale and not a perfectly true statement about exactly how all introspective people are. Action people, like me, are more likely to jump in. I am an action-oriented person. When there's a problem, I am the first one to jump in and say, let's solve it. I don't always worry about every detail or think about all the potential roadblocks. I'm all in for fixing the problem here and now. That's an action-oriented person. Now here's a tough question. Is it better to be an action person or an introspective person? The question might seem tough. I mean, action people like myself, we get things done. However, introspective people, they're the ones who settle us down and remind us that in order to get things done, we have to actually have the funds, the time, the means to get anything done at all in the first place. In 1 Corinthians 12, Paul addresses the church in Corinth because they have been arguing among themselves. There were a lot of reasons to their arguing: false teaching, cultural differences, and personality clashes. But Paul is writing them to remind them that God made each one of them an important part of the church. Paul says that they are like the human body. Even though each person is different, they're supposed to all follow Jesus. That means living out his teaching, his way of life, God's clear direction of right and wrong in the Bible, but that each person is a different part of the process, just like, again, the human body has different parts that accomplish different tasks. In 1 Corinthians 12:21, Paul writes this, that the eye cannot say to the hand, it does not need the hand anymore. Why? Well, the eye can only see, and the hand can only serve. So they need each other, one to see where it's going and what it's doing, and the other to actually do what needs to be done. Let's simplify this. We, human beings, you and me, are all different. But each and every single one of us is important to God and to each other. This November, Nicole and I will celebrate 11 years of marriage. And if you've ever heard the term opposites attract, we can prove it. Nicole is a quiet, school-loving, book-reading, good grade-getting, gentle soul. Me? Well, most of you know me, but if you don't, I am the opposite of those things. I am a work with my hands, social butterfly, dirt bike riding, class clown goofball. We are complete opposites. But do you know what? We have formed a beautiful marriage. In our almost 11 years, we have completely knocked it out of the park. Sure, we've had our moments. Marriage and relationships in general are not actually perpetual bliss, despite what Faith Hill says. Okay, I lost most of you at that, and you probably didn't get that reference, but that was more for me than it was for you. But the reason we have such a beautiful marriage is that I appreciate that she slows me down. I love that she challenges me to think things through better. I'm grateful for her very different perspective. She has helped me to become a more well-rounded, thoughtful, and maybe more patient person. I might still be working on that one. Just as she has challenged me to grow, she would say I have challenged her to grow. In fact, these are her own words. Jeremiah has challenged me to push past my timid nature of standing on the sideline, silently watching, to actually taking action, talking to people, and engaging with them. He has built me up in my self-confidence, helped me see God's work through me, and helped me laugh through times that would have normally made me curl up and cry. He's taught me that it's okay to invite people to your house 10 minutes beforehand, and most of all, he's shown me that I can make a difference in people's life just how God made me. What it all boils down to is this: we challenge each other with our strengths. It is good to be a person of action and a person of introspection. In fact, if you could be a 5 right in the middle of that sliding scale, you'd have great balance in your life. But even that isn't perfection. In the trenches of war or an extreme crisis, sometimes you need an action person to step in and say, let's go, move. If you sat there and thought through the steps any longer, you'd drown or be picked up in a tornado or something crazy like that. At the same time, when you're planning for the future, an action person might not always be your best bet because they might just start doing things with no regard for process, the steps, the budget, the tools, or anything else you need to get the job done. Remember, that's not a perfect scale. That means not all action-oriented people never think anything through, but they're more likely to take action or push to act than to wait and think things through. And it's not like introspective people all just sit around and never do anything all day, but they're more likely to think about things a little longer than an action-oriented person. Do you see how both types of people are important? One is not more wrong than the other. These are not sinful personalities or traits. Action people are not better than introspective people, and introspective people are not better than action people. Instead, both are equally important. I want to challenge you to do a few things. First, ask yourself honestly, what type of person am I? Do I tend to think or overthink, or am I taking action, jumping in, and solving problems right away? Be honest with yourself, and most importantly, recognize that being that person is not a bad thing. Second, I want you to think about the people around you. Are they more likely to be action people, introspective people, a good mix? Are your friends, family, or whoever you keep close in your life different than you or just like you? What about those you disagree with? Are they more or less like you on the action introspection scale? Third, in 1 Corinthians 12, Paul says that God has given each person different gifts, strengths, and weaknesses. I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but it's important. Proverbs 27:6 says that wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. What the Bible's saying is that real friends who follow God challenge us, they sharpen us, not just to hurt us, but to grow us. Paul says to the church in Corinth that God gives us different personalities, different gifts, different unique abilities to use to serve the church, to serve God's kingdom in different ways, to sharpen each other and challenge each other to grow, and to do what other people can't do. So my third and final challenge is this. I want to ask you to appreciate how God uses other people to challenge you to grow. Maybe to be more action-oriented because you're introspective, or more introspective because you're action-oriented. Or maybe that he uses them to balance you out, like me and Nicole. Don't just get overwhelmed. Don't just be offended by others' differences. Appreciate what the people around you bring to the table. Be a leader who sees how God can use that action person or that introspective person. How he can use this person's art and that person's musical understanding. How he can use this athlete's talent and one individual's complete and utter lack of coordination. I want to challenge you to pick one person whose personality clashes with yours and ask yourself, what can I learn from that person today?